The gladness that once we had is gone because capitalism gone bad. You got to have heavy contact, know how to move up in society to make any kind of impact in this country. You got to know how to chip the field, how to scheme and swindle properly, perfect the art of wheel and deal in this country. I say survival in this land isn't easy for no man. With unemployment and high inflation, somehow we go dead before the end of this recession. Where the hell is this? Some mango Julie costing $3.50, $40 for one watermelon. Half your salary for fish, meat and poultry. Time you buy greens, all your money done. It's hard here in Trinidad. Lord have mercy, capitalism gone mad. It's sad and getting more hard. Lord, capitalism gone mad.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant night to all at surgery. You caught us napping there, but we are trying to, of course, make some rearrangements in order, of course, to bring your favorite program in the night, the Corridor Transformation, to you on this Monday night. First day of school. First day of school. Unfortunately, I suppose some people may prefer to have a protracted holiday, like Joshua. He didn't attend school today, but there were two reasons for that. One, well, three. It's a new school, but that had nothing to do with it. But the documentation from one school to the next was not properly ready in the school that he has now been transferred to. So that's one. And in the previous school, well, they have been tardy in that regard. But there are other factors. Of course, we had to get his booklets, we had to get the books, and we had to get the uniform. And of course, he's a bit chubby guy, and therefore, of course, difficulty with getting his size. And so, of course, we had to check here, there, and some other places in order, of course, to get his uniform organized. But he's ready for tomorrow, one way or another, because yes, today he had to get a special uniform at the beginning of the term and at the beginning of the month, and he simply did not have it. So I will be with him tomorrow. So I thought I should make sure that there are exceptions to the rule today. Whilst, of course, we congratulate all of them, all of you who turned out to school today. And of course, we have to give credit to the parents, the teachers, and of course those persons who are transporting, because they could have been incidents that is unwarranted or indeed never catered for, that could have been a bit dangerous. So we want to thank all the people engaged in commuting one way or another by way of transporting teachers, children, police officers who might have been, of course, deployed in certain schools at this point in time, right? So, yes, but of course, the topic tonight, well, school education is a platform, a window to prosperity. Let me repeat. School, education, a window, a platform for prosperity. But let's say, of course, the mighty sparrow and some people who are unscrupulous or when circumstances are such that we do not feel as loyal as we should because of inflation and other debilitating factors, because of mismanagement and other what I consider to be greedy individuals in the society who do not see themselves as their brothers and sisters keepers. But let's hear it.
In your wallet, and money is so hard to get in this country. Necessity or luxuries, it doesn't matter what the item is, they're charging anything they please. In this country, primary school books prices loot, is highway robbery, the price of food. All hopes and dreams elude the poor man, but politicians still expect good work attitude. Just imagine this, the cheapest coffee, over 3,000, not even dying today easy. Thousands of dollars for the undertakers, so you could...
Yes, indeed, of course. Once again, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, South, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, of course, we'll open up the lines a little later after Joshua will make his departure. But of course, you know, the first 15 minutes will be dedicated to, of course, you young folks out there. So I want to say on behalf of the team here, and of course, yourselves, and of course, and you, being ready and of course having attended your first day of school after of course a very protracted August holiday. Some call it summer, but we don't have summer here. We have just 2 seasons, rainy season and what is the other season, Joshua?
Sunny season.
And sunny season, that's right, yes. Joshua is still a bit under the weather. So you'll hear him of course coughing from time to time, but he insists. So when young people are insistent, particularly when things are positive, you want, of course, to encourage them as much as you can, especially if you are a parent. And of course, I am the parent of this 10-year-old, so you would appreciate my indulgence, so to speak. Of course, there's certain risk that is associated with it, but of course, I don't mind afterwards. After all, it is, of course, flesh and blood. That being as it may, I mean, today would have been your first day of school. Apart from what I said, what would have been the other things why you would not have gone to school? A bit under the weather, right now?
Sick.
Uh-huh.
The teachers, well, maybe I still want to stay home if I go because teacher might have sent me back home. And they might want to get anybody else sick. They might want to get anybody else.
Talk a little louder, man. Yeah. You're saying what?
Teachers might send me back home because I was sick
Right.
and because they don't want anybody else getting sick.
I see, right. So it's something that is contagious, meaning other people get it because things will come from your mouth and your nose, and next thing people inhale it and you get something like when COVID was around.
Yeah.
All right, okay, I hear you. All right. So we understand that. Of course, that didn't stop you from doing a special project that, of course, let me say, I hinted, but didn't demand. And he thought he should write to the president, Miss Kangaloo, Her Excellency, the president. Yes, we call her Her Excellency. That is to be correct, so that you would know what title to give such an individual. She is the head of state, called the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Kala Kangaloo?
Miss Christine Kangaloo.
Oh, Miss Christine Kala Kangaloo. All right, okay. See, so they know a little more than me. Sorry about, but you know, we like to do it live, and the fact is that he is under the weather, and that is not something unusual or uncommon among parents and families who have children that may be, of course, suffering from the flu, as the case may be. But so we do it live here one time, unrehearsed, and I think that shows the humanness and the practicality and the reality of course, communities across the country and homes in general. All right, but of course, one of the things that I do expect is that he's going to be yawning because that too was not rehearsed, people, but I expect that he will be enthusiastic and treat with the matter. But of course, tell me what you did today. Write a letter to who? All right, okay. And what was the, or what is the letter about? Because it has to be delivered tomorrow. So what's the letter about? Before that, and then you read from it. Go ahead.
The letter is about
Yeah.
inviting her to the community to see the place
All right.
and come to my school.
To come to your school. All right. The new school? New school, the school to which you have been transferred, of course, that is
Yes.
process. All right. I will do that now because that will take some time, and then of course we will we'll have you of course go back to bed and take in your medicine, and of course say your prayers if you're going to sleep, and of course that happens in the night and of course in the morning time. We thank him for taking you safely through the night and then through the following day. But go ahead. Let's hear what you wrote to the President of Trinidad and Tobago, Miss Christine, Her Excellency, Miss Christine Kangaloo, Kala Kangaloo, full name. Go ahead.
I will speak up into my phone.
Yes, yes.
I want to speak up.
Yes, go ahead.
Joshua Smith,
Yes.
new student of Eastern Boys Government Primary School, number 55 George Street, Port of Spain. I'm not going to see the phone number.
All right, okay. Go ahead. You ain't want nobody to call you. All right, no problem. Go ahead.
I don't really like people calling on my phone when I'm sleeping.
I hear you. So, all right, okay. You like me better disturbing you when you're sleeping. All right, no problem.
My bed.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Finish up. I'm listening. And everybody is
I
raring
like
to hear what you had to tell the president.
Monday, 8th of September 2025. Her Excellency, Mrs. Christine Kala Kangaloo, ORTT, the Office of the President House, Queen's Park, Savannah.
Before you go further, what OTT? Where are the ORTT? What I mean? ORTT. Just you out there. Put on your thinking cap. What ORTT means? Going once, going twice.
Going 3 times?
Going 3 times? No. Well, in studio, I want you to tell me. If not, we don't want to consume more time on that.
I don't know.
You don't know? All right, okay, right. ORTT means, people, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. That's the highest award anybody can get for being a patriot or being a citizen of this country, but has done tremendous work, plenty work, nice work, good work to help your fellow man, right? So the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is the acronym ORTT means. Go ahead.
And I want to see.
And you want to what?
And I want to go to sleep.
Go ahead.
Queen's Park, Savannah, Port of Spain. Subject invitation to my school, Eastern Boys Government primary school. Dear Her Excellency, my name is Joshua Smith. I am 10 years of age and live in the community of George and Nelson Streets, which people say is very bad. To be truthful, police visit and rough people up, especially, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, you wanna say that? No, Excellency.
Oh, excellency, I see, okay.
Excellency, young people regularly, no, not especially.
Especially. ES, spell it out, the man. ESPECIALLY, yes, that is especially, yes, yes. Especially, yes. So,
Especially young people regularly. We are seen as a poor community while the area has ugly buildings, homeless people roam the streets day and night. Excellency, parents have to warn their children of the dangers of the streets because of drink pushers and drug takers. Violence and bullying is something that we all know very well. I know that this is bad. I know that this is bad, and I do not participate in bullying. I like all the good parents in the community. We are told over and over that violence and bullying is not good. I will be attending my new school, Eastern Boy, from tomorrow, the 9th of September. This is because I was transferred from my old school, Belmont Government Primary. Most of the students are from the immediate community. I am determined to show that not because we are from behind the bridge, George Street and Nelson Street, that we are not disciplined and can not do good things. I believe we can do better than persons from the richer communities. Excellency, Excellency, people ask, no, Excellency, at this point I would like to invite you to my new school and surrounding community. If you are unable to visit, I hope that you can visit. You I hope that I can visit you to have a chat on the matters I have written about earlier. Bullying, poverty, no, violence, bullying, crime, poverty, etc. are part of children's daily experiences. In highest part, we have good parents, we have bad parents, we also have good people who try to assist. At the age of 10, I know we all can do better. Looking out for an early positive response. Please be safe and I'll be praying.
Wow. Well, of course, let me, as usual, when he reads something, I love to just make sure that everything he said is so.
Well,
Amir.
when I was reading, Daddy was looking very bored.
Bored. No, I wasn't bored. I was very interested. But let's go. Yes, Joshua Smith, of course, a new student of Eastern Boys Government Primary School, number 55 George Street, Port of Spain. Phone numbers, right, of course, Monday the 8th of September 2025. So that is today. Her Excellency Mrs. Christine Kala Kangaloo, ORTT, the Office of the President, President's House, Queen's Park, Savannah, Port of Spain. Subject: invitation to visit my school, Eastern Boys Government. Dear Her Excellency, by now you should know, but of course I had to assist him in getting some of the information that he has in his head, of course, on paper. By now you should recognize that. My name is Joshua Smith. I am 10 years of age and live in the community of George and Nelson Streets, which people say is very bad. To be truthful, police visit and rough people up, especially young people, regularly. We are seen as a poor community while the area has ugly buildings. Homeless people roam the streets day and night. Excellency, Excellency, parents have to warn their children of the dangers of the streets because of drug pushers and drug takers. Violence and bullying is something that we all know very well. I know that this is bad and I do not practice bullying. Like all the good parents in the community, we are told over and over that violence and bullying are not good. I will be attending my new school, Eastern Boys, from tomorrow, the 9th of September. This is because I was transferred from my old school, Belmont Government Primary. Most of the students are from the immediate community. I am determined to show that not because we are from behind the bridge, George Street and Nelson Street, that we are not disciplined and can not do good things. I believe we can do better than persons from the richer communities. Excellency, it continues, at this point, I would like to invite you to visit my new school and surrounding community. If you are unable to visit, I hope that I can visit you to have a chat on the matters I have written about earlier. Violence, bullying, crime, poverty, etc. are part of children's daily experiences, right, in these parts. We have good parents, we have bad parents. We also have good people who try to assist. At the age of 10, I know we all can do better. Looking out for an early and a positive response. Please be safe, and I will be praying. Joshua Smith. All right. Well done, well done, well done. All right. Anything you want to say before you make your departure? Quickly. Anything? Nothing? All right. Well, let me say. Well, let me put on this then. Let me put on this. It's all right. Let me put on this one. I think this is especially for you, and of course those students out there who of course have started their school term and are now of course looking forward to their interaction with their peers as well as their teachers.
Education needs sound education to be recognized.
Yes, indeed.
Education, education, this is the foundation. Our rising population needs sound education.
Yes, indeed, of course. Any parting words, my son, before you leave?
I would like to say bye-bye, and whoever going to school tomorrow, you're just my team.
Just my team. All right, okay. So, well, we will be back on tomorrow night, and you'll tell us what your first day at school would have been like. All right? Okay then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Do I have to change anything? I don't have to change anything. And let's, yeah. Go ahead. Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye. Yes, indeed. All right, people, of course, so we have come to the end of that session where, of course, on script, raw and direct, of course, and we have a beautiful letter that is to be sent to the president. It will be delivered tomorrow. Of course, Joshua inviting the president to visit his school, and of course, I'm sure that it's going to be taken positively. Let me put it that way. I have in regard, of course, to the visible and the utterances of the president that, of course, she wants to be associated with young people, and of course, you can't want it younger than this. So that being as of course, we have a number of things that are still on the agenda. We have, of course, the whole question of the government taking a stance, and other CARICOM and farther afield commentators are not of the same view of the present government in terms of the action that took place in the marine environment, where the assets of the United States were deployed to destroy a boat that was carrying narcotics. Of course, the proof of the pudding, according to the President of the United States, is that they had listening devices, and they were certain that it was, of course, narcotics. And as the Venezuelans would have indicated from, I assume, from their own investigations, that it was heading for Trinidad. And of course, that makes the argument even more significant for Trinidad and Tobago, that we must, of course, act in our best interests. And we expect the government so to do. Because, as I said on the ground report this morning, that there was a whole seminar workshop, if you want to call it that, where the various leaders of CARICOM and elsewhere were invited to talk about crime and to talk about the drugs and the guns, and to, of course, say to the world that somehow they must treat this plague as a public health hazard. Yeah, imagine that, of course, and we, especially myself, would make a mockery of that whole process How the hell you go treat crime as a public health issue? What? So what you do, a fella point a gun at you, and you get to the nearest drugstore and take a pill, and suddenly the bullet will dissolve? I mean, come on. It was a waste of taxpayers' money, a waste of ideas, and so on. But in spite of all of that, because one has to say that that was an effort nonetheless, in spite of the futility of the exercise, it was null and void and of no effect. But here it is, you have a superior solution. A superior solution, and that is the United States agreeing, not agreeing, but taking unilateral action to come into the region because they too have a drug problem that is fueling crime. I don't think, of course, it will fuel any high amount of course, let's say, guns, because, of course, they have more guns than one can think of. So I can't say that it is causing guns to come in to their country because they have enough there. But, of course, it is causing guns to come in Trinidad and Tobago because we do not produce it and we do not have a culture of guns being, of course, in the hands of Tom, Dick, and Harry. We don't have that culture. And therefore, when the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago makes a bold, vivid, conspicuous, and with a high degree of clarity, unambiguous, in other words, that, listen, we are grateful for the assistance, whether directly or indirectly, from the United States in addressing this menace called drugs, guns, murders, kidnapping, home invasion, etc. As they pay attention to all of this, here it is. I wouldn't call it olive branch. No, it's not peace, but it is an opportunity that was delivered to us. Otherwise, we would have had to buy or focus on more boats to patrol our waters, invest in more human and, of course, technology in order to try to save the society from the onslaught of the drug mules and the drug cartels that surround us. Or within our range as they transship to the north, whether it's United States, Canada, Europe, etc. Whether it's on the Atlantic Ocean or whether Pacific Ocean, but of course going through the Panama Canal, whichever mechanism that they would have used to get their drugs, but of course they would have to pass through Trinidad's waters at minimum, and leaving their despicable and their evil weapons of destruction, guns and ammunition, in here for, of course, the local, what I consider the local criminal elements to deploy, to make use of, to generate the hazard and the havoc that is contemporary Trinidad and Tobago. Let's not waste time. And so I would love to hear your position on this and any other matter that you would love or you would like to raise as we, of course, continue with the discussion tonight. So the lines are open, 337-6940, 337-6940, and of course there is another number that is streaming across your screen, and that is, of course, that number is the number that you can get assistance from us or we from you, 336-6594. 336-6594, and you call Annie even now. I want to say, having said that, I cannot overemphasize, nor can I give enough praise and appreciation for those benefactors, those persons who would have given of their own volition and their own resources to our back to school drive. I think we're in a better place now than we were 2 nights ago or 2 days ago in terms of course, satisfying the over 400 applicants. In fact, tonight, I want to tell you that the Deputy Political Leader of Love, of course, the party that I led, along with, of course, the other coalition partners, and the UNC being the lead or in the lead to, of course, contest the 28th of April general elections. I want to say that the Deputy Political Leader of Love, Dana Gabriel, you will hear from him from time to time as we, of course, roll out the various segments that the corridor transformation will now be divided into. Of course, the first is that children segment, if you want to call it that, young people segment, if you want to call it that. Of course, we can't play the young people tune music. We'll play, of course, uplifting and motivational songs, including, of course, that of religious ones. But the point I am making is that only today, having gotten, of course, a handsome supply of copybooks, what is called copybooks, but it's really writing books or writing pads, some like to call it, but it's used, of course, on a daily basis in school for mathematics, for English, and for, of course, science and sociology and so on, and social studies and so on in the school, to take notes, in other words. Distinct and separate from the hardcover notebook, you know, that's a special one for special assignments. And we told him today that if persons contact him, that he can, of course, say that he has at least 6 of those copybooks, we call it locally copybooks, to distribute. And so give him, of course, an opportunity to also be part and parcel of the distribution process. The distribution process. So we have that, and I want to thank the benefactors. I want to thank the donors. I want to thank those good Samaritans. I want to thank, of course, those altruists. I want to thank, of course, those persons who have a heart for young people, and, of course, the development of Trinidad and Tobago by extension. I want to say that, you know, without fear of contradiction, and with the highest degree of respect and deference for that kind of what I consider to be patriotic zeal and, of course, overture. It's very, very, very important to me that we give thanks. You see, I learned to be, of course, grateful and thankful when, of course, such actions are taken by others who did not have an obligation so to do, but did. So you have to be grateful. So I want to thank persons for that. As I said, of course, we are not out of the woods as yet. We are expecting, of course, by the end of the month. Some people say that they will still assist us, but many of the book lists that we would have had in our possession have not been fulfilled. Just pass me that file there, please. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I have some people in studio with me, you know, so this is the file, and all of which are book lists. You see, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, let me don't call out all because it may take up the rest of the program. So let me just simply say that we have in more than our fair share and we have not been able to even deal with a quarter of what is here. What we are doing is being eclectic, being selective, and of course we will deal with the copybooks and the notebooks, those stationery aspect of it, pen, pencils, crayons, etc. But of course in terms of the textbooks, which is the consumer of the finances, people are veering away from that because it is a bit expensive. $1,000 will not cut. Of course, I'll have my own views ultimately about the $1,000, and I think it ought not to have stopped at all. Even when I was teaching at Piccadilly, I had some very healthy debates about that $1,000 that was being given to the parents on behalf of the children, and I believe that it ought not to have stopped, and that the premise on which the PNM would have curtailed or cease providing that is extremely flawed. You see, and I'm going to just say the main flaw, the main argument that makes it stupid, ill-advised, and of course insensitive to the realities, especially in poor communities. You see, when you replace that $1,000 with, let's say, you have to lend them or they have to borrow textbooks and then they bring it back the next term, first and foremost, you ain't gonna get any, by and large, completely usable textbooks after that, because they'll write in it and they will underline, and they will of course advance the answers you know, to that may be at the back of the book, but you know, some people will, because they're using the book, it's active, it's an active document that and a learning tool that of course is provided. I talk about the textbooks. So that's one aspect of it. So it was stupid to think that somehow you could punish them if they if they return the books in some state that is unusable in some instances. So that's the first thing. The other thing about the textbooks, borrowing or lending by the ministry and for the students to return them in good condition ostensibly. The other thing, of course, is that if a student is not academically inclined, right? You could give them, or the miserable, or they maybe, as my son said earlier, maybe a bully, as he indicated in his letter to the president. They will continue to be more disruptive. You have to find something else to attract the attention of such a student. And there are too many at every level, primary, secondary, and so on, not to be concerned, and not to make this a valid argument. But I think I better go further to say, well, how the $1,000 I've argued would work instead of the books. You see, in the community that I serve, continue to serve, and I taught at Piccadilly government, so you'll understand that that is what I consider to be in the belly of the beast, so to speak. I mean, the students, the catchment area is places like Nelson Street, Beetham Sealats, and on the hill, Lavender Hill. So you don't want a better exhibition of students that will come from different backgrounds, but backgrounds that would be considered to be inhospitable for learning, and they bring that into the school environment as well. We have heard, let's not waste time, we have heard about, of course, the shooting up at Rose Hill government. I want to thank, of course, the Kamala Prasad Bisesa administration for constructing a brand new school for the students there. But environment outside of the school is one that is not conducive for education, because when they leave school, the children, they leave the school environment and they go out and they go back into the communities, they are bombarded with all kinds of negativity, what the sociologists call the subterranean culture. Subterranean culture. Culture that is not acceptable for advancing, of course, the individual and collective needs and advancement of the society. That's what we are talking about. But let us get back to how that $1,000, as I've argued, will assist in the process of creating more disciplined children and giving, of course, parents a leverage, a tool for them to keep the children on the straight and narrow. You see, that is something that is not told. It ought not to, because the ostensible reason for the $1,000 is to help buy textbooks, help buy textbooks, books. But we know that it could never completely finance that requirement of the student. But I'll tell you how creative the parents in these poor, downtrodden, depressed communities make the $1,000 work for them, and to advance and make it easier for them to manage their children. Because after all, you know that them children smart enough to, of course, say that if a parent lash them, they go, of course, to the relevant department in the police service, and then the parent is in trouble because, of course, they say it's abuse, and of course is the law that you cannot, of course, punish physically children. You have to find other ways and means to do it. But I'll show you this. My argument has been very simple. In these communities, they have developed a strategy where the child believes that he or she is in charge of the money to come, the $1,000, the check. And mommy and daddy will tell that child, listen, if you do not go to school, I ain't going for no check. Because that check is supposed, of course, to assist maybe in the purchase of something that the child wants, whether it be a toy, whether it be, of course, maybe some kind of garment, whether it be some opportunity on a birthday, etc. Quite a variety of things that the child desires and the child favors. So mommy and daddy now has a stick, not to whip, not to flagellate, but to negotiate. And what the parents will now say, if you don't go to school, first and foremost, I'm not going for the check. 2, if you ain't do well in school, I'm not going for the check. So you wouldn't get what was promised or what you desire. If you behave bad in school, being a bully, etc., and you are disrespectful to the teachers, I will not come to school to collect that check. That is what that meant. You see, you have to be thinking out of the box, and you have to understand the socio-economic and psycho-cultural dynamics that operates in these communities in order for you to generate the solutions that are required in order, of course, to create what I consider to be well-to-do, or put another way, decent, upright, and contributing citizens away from a life of crime as an option, for example. That's what I'm talking about. And therefore, if you don't understand the dynamics there and the simple things like that, that can, of course, assist in the process of preventing, of course, the proliferation of gangs and the proliferation of home invasions, etc., then you really and truly don't work to the purpose for which you either hold the position of decision making. You see, because these technocrats and bureaucrats have the propensity to believe that because they have access to the resources of the state, and therefore the treasury and the exchequer, that of course they can come up with all kind of hairy-fairy ideas, and then say, well, listen, we have created it, and when to put it into practice, we see that it is the outcome. It's the reverse for which it was intended. Why am I saying that? And what again I can use to reinforce my argument? Well, in the government over the years have created over 50 make work program, what I consider to be Holden Bay programs, whether it be YTEP, whether it be LAP, whether it be my tap, my lap, and we can go gate, etc., and a hype, etc., and a CCC. They've done that. But the fact of the matter is that none of all of that exists, and with a tremendous expenditure, we still have a burgeoning or a deepening or a widening or intensification of the problems of what I consider to be youths that have not been able to adapt and adjust to what is required of them and expected of them as citizens of this country, future and otherwise. Has not. So therefore those programs have failed. I have argued some time ago, for example, that here it is in the MLIO program that we had, and at its peak about 2000 and let's say one, thereabout, Serval was being given all the money, saying and suggesting, as far as the government is concerned, that they are the ones that are treating, of course, with downtrodden young people, that young people who may be misled, whose self-esteem may be such that they prefer to gravitate to the negative elements and be influenced therefrom and thereof, and of course the glamorization by those who are very learned or very committed to crime and criminality and gang warfare and gang proliferation and gang establishment. They glamorize it, and so of course they gravitate. They gravitate. But the fact of the matter is that if you are given Serval and Milo or MLIO is doing the same work, but with a niche that is more dangerous than those that end up in Serval, how the hell you don't know that your job is to seek out and to look at that measure and that program, and even if there were no application, but you make it your business to go in there and to see what is required and what they are doing, because certainly they are assisting in the process of making these young people understand that they have a duty and responsibility to become model citizens. But what you do, you encourage and by your position in the whatever ministry, whether it's sports, whether it be social development, whether it be community development, whether it be education, etc., you say these technocrats know it all, and therefore they will focus on Serval. And why they focus on Serval? Well, let me tell you why. Because, it is common sense. The fact is that the people who would have created Serval are from the upper echelons of the society, and of course rub shoulders with the decision makers at the industry level, at the business level, at the commercial level, and at the government level. So they are respected. But those persons who would have created out of nothing similar programs with similar outcomes, but dealing, of course, with the most downtrodden of them all, and the most difficult, and the most disaffected. They are not seen as viable to get the assistance of state to manage such a tremendous Challenge. And what is the usual argument? The usual argument that them are smart people, them go get rich off of that and so on. I've heard that asinine statement by people like Hines and Rowley. They say that they will not give MLIO and IOTA because Lennox Smith is, of course, the head of that and the creator of that. They are consummate dunce. They are nincompoops of an extraordinary nature. Let us not waste time with that. That is what they are, because their level of ignorance and their ignoramus, or should I put it another way, their biases, because they hate their own kind. Yes, and I'm being frank here. You cannot comprehend. You cannot in good conscience see a program evolve, generated in a community like Laventille, Beetham, Selots, and so on, and then say them fellas go get rich. You have to be an ass and a half. You have to be, and I'm saying that directly to people like Rowley and Imsbert and of course Fitzgerald Hines and so on, who have of course not just lost their way, but lost any credibility to take anybody forward. They are no leader, none of them. And Penny, of course, even worse, the nonsense that she continues, of course, to vomit, to spew, not dissimilar to what Rowley and they were doing, but maybe her personal, maybe of a different and calmer, not as belligerent and not as bellicose in terms of her expression, but the impact and the outcome is the same. Null and void and of no effect. Does not waste time. And has no benefit to be derived for the ordinary young man who, of course, look left, look right, look up, look down, and sees nothing on the horizon to imbue any kind of optimism, any kind of hope. That is what these people have done. Imagine, instead of telling the people who would have been temporarily displaced in Sept and URP and so on, because of the obvious investigation that had to take place because of the corruption and nepotism unearthed and discovered, and before they tell them, hold on, let them complete, because that exercise will be completed. It will not go into perpetuity. Hold on. And let's see what new or what additional or what initiative that will be taken. Let me see. What happened? Oh boy. Sorry about that, boy. Apparently my phone off. Yeah, let me see. Oh, yeah, boy, yeah. I heard people go, sorry about that, but let's... yeah, sorry about that, but let's go. All right, because I have been asking for people to call, and since they ain't calling, I'm talking. But go ahead, my friend. Sorry about that.
All right, boy,
yes.
You know what I call it?
Oh, my goodness. Sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't realize that my phone was totally dead.
Right. But I gotta take you off when you're talking about you. I want to talk something else.
Go ahead, man. No problem with that, man. That is the purpose for your intervention.
Right, because I see people in my father all about the place. You worry about this thing what happened with the pilot.
Yes, with the pilot, yes. Well, I should say, it was a kidnapping, but was successfully, of course, dealt with.
But they get them, but they come back the boy.
Yes.
You know, the point is this, Lennox. When you call the police station and they answer the phone, I thought that was a thing of the past.
I too.
Still going on.
Yeah, I too.
On that Gary stopped that one time.
Yeah.
And he stopped that with a simple measure. He gave out his phone number to the public. Right? Simple measure. I have two partners in the West Day working in police station. You know what they tell me? When that phone ring in the night, they answer before the manager, answer that quick, answer that quick. That might be the commissioner.
Yes.
He had everybody on board. All the police station.
All right.
Right now, this present commissioner, he's not to give out his cell phone number. There are many other options available to him.
Yes, all right, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to see it.
Yeah.
And get all the police on board. But without all the police stations on board, they will not be successful enough.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And of course, his response seemed to be one that that is aggression is the best solution, because he keeps saying that if you continue, the result is these extrajudicial killings that have been taken place, rather than, of course, let's say a police investigation that would, of course, involve ultimately the judicial system to determine guilt or not. But of course, he believes that there should be a termination of the individual, and that the police must be judge, jury, and of course investigator, I suppose. Go ahead. Let's make the point. Go ahead.
I think Alexander threatened the police tonight that if they don't want to do the work, resign. Right?
Right.
No, not Gary. Gary had to do that. They had to come on board.
Yes.
This is why I say they have to find another option to get all the police on board. Without all the police on board, we ain't going no place, you know.
Yeah, definite, yeah.
Just shooting non-criminals, that makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
The next thing I want to say, no matter how you here.
Yes.
Johnny Abraham, you know, you always talk about Johnny.
Yeah, I know that is your favorite cop.
Yes.
Yes.
You say me, you lock down Central, and you say me, you're coming here and going back out.
Yeah.
But they have to bring him somewhere by Trinity Mall Lane.
Okay.
And just let him take a look and see what's going on. And he will organize. And over to put the police, he will see a picture in his mind because he has the imagination.
Yeah, and creativity, and of course thinking out of the box, yeah. Or thinking along the lines of where the criminals are thinking, yeah.
All up here, Takariga used to say that before, he said, all up in Kandahar, that's your by me, that's your criminals.
Well, lobby the government, go ahead. I mean, I see no reason why. You are a citizen of the country, and if you believe that somebody could do the job and you could feel safer as a result, I think you should take the opportunity. Yes, go ahead. Lobby, my friend. Go ahead.
Because when you're telling me, Lennox, I can't write us all that easy.
Yeah.
But you put Johnny anywhere there by City Mall. Let me say City Mall. Republic Bank and all them. Show up you up.
Yeah.
I just want that I see a mental picture what to do one time.
Right.
Right away, he don't know what to do.
Yes.
I telling you that. He proved that already. I don't know if with him, Alexander and the other one, if they have the ability, I don't know. If they have it, let me see it. Right? And I do not go agree with this.
Right.
Since Morrow's time to know. Gary was the best commissioner of police we had, you know.
All right, okay.
Let me forget the politics part after he had Kamla get away.
Yeah.
When he was commissioner of police.
Yeah.
Everybody trusted him, I did trust him.
Yeah.
Vice chairman outside, you know, but me I never, but I just take a peep and see I look back again. He gone.
Yeah. All right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, so I just opened up the other line, so but the other system, and I see calls are coming in now. Just hold on, Mr. Takarigo is completing his presentation, and then of course we'll take you.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Takarigo. Yeah. All right. All right.
Just use your imagination and your thinker.
Yeah.
Put it.
Okay.
And come up with a solution. Just like what Guy Griffin do.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Of course. So continue to lobby.
Yeah. We shall continue. come and go down the road again.
I hear you, my friend. Okay.
They won't put it out there, won't.
I hear you.
Ah, they won't hear for that man,
Yeah. And of course, it was horrible that the residents of Mount Honolulu, I believe it was, where the vehicle of the pilot was seen, and they called and nobody responded. Yeah. I agree with you. That is a serious indictment. Yeah.
That is bullshit. That has to cut out, boy.
Yeah, that's the cutoff. All right, thanks. We have another caller. Okay, then. Yes, indeed. Go ahead, caller. I think it's
This
Diego
is
Martin.
Diego
Mr.
Martin.
Diego Martin? Yes. Go ahead,
This
Diego
is
Martin.
Diego Martinez.
Yes.
And good night to all the listeners. I was listening to the contribution of Tagari Gordon,
Yes.
and I have a different stance on it.
Go ahead.
I say no to Gigi. He has question to answer.
All right.
Now, listen to how I have assessing it.
Mm-hmm.
My Prime Minister says she wants 6 months to mitigate against the runaway crime spree.
Yes.
And to me, that is a challenge, but it's not surmountable. Everybody has to be on board.
Mm-hmm.
The chief organization that is tasked with realizing that objective, that KPI, is the TTPS. And in order to get some positives, the TTPS must reinvent itself. I have seen the true potential of the new Commissioner of Police, Guerrero. I think he understands the metrics that KPB wants to achieve.
Okay.
He also wants to clap back against a former Prime Minister, KCR, who said no amount of patrol boats by the Americans around the borders will help in mitigating crime. And throw the TTPS under the bus and say the police service, the judiciary, etc. He blamed them. But Guerrero has clapped back, and you're seeing evidence of that.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4 kidnapped victims has been rescued, right?
Yes.
Some of them think, and we call that rapid response. And he's showing that the culprits involved should go on planned corn. He's using corn for them.
I hear you.
He is diversifying the economy. He said, only go on planned corn. If I say I want you all to come forward, and you all don't want to come forward, and you are caught running away from me, go and look for a plot and plant your corn. We will give it to you. Now, let me tell you how the police service can be fixed. You know, and I've always, since Thy Kingdom Come, pointed to the Joint Select Committee investigation into their policing.
Into what?
No one,
Into what? Into what?
the day of policing.
Oh, it was yeah, good. Sorry about that.
That
Go
is
ahead.
that is 2015.
Yes.
Not a single person in the leadership, the subsequent commissioners of police, Gary Griffith, what they call, who was the Jacob, etc., investigated and disciplined any of those officers. I suggest that every single policeman should be given a copy of that to read, because an election is coming up shortly, because one of them win a court case saying he could go up, but he was the main instigator at their policing.
Yes, Seals was charged for sedition, and he ended up, of course, on a PNM platform contesting Tabakit seat. Go ahead, yes.
Yeah, Seals was the secretary, but this
Yeah,
other
the
fellow by
secretary.
the president.
Yes.
He, most of them, if not all of them who participated from the DCPI and the former commissioner of police, the DCP operations, this current president of the Trinidad and Tobago Welfare Association, he was instrumental in advising the DCP of operations about promotions and to violate the protocols and to interview them even though they fail. So you can't have those fellas. Look at the leadership. So when the elections come, you will have pristine people looking after police officers and not people who might want to do another day of policing. You can't have the same people leading the organization. For example,
Yeah, but with the present structure and the regulations and the law, including of course that of industrial relations, how would that purging as you seem to want to recommend?
All right.
Can be accomplished?
Let us go where leadership must not only be seen but must be done. You see the present Police Service Commission. They must all go forthwith.
All right.
Because they projected double standard. You remember earlier Christopher was sent on leave when they were investigating her?
Yes.
Why don't they do the same thing with the CPI? And she's been investigated by the
Yes,
COP.
and I see that she is upfront in terms of issues with respect to the kidnapping. She was, of course, right on spot. I suppose she is playing the politics, and her visibility suggests
let me bust the mark.
invincibility. Go ahead, yeah.
Let me bust the mark. The newspaper is prompting her. The newspaper is holding her in pedestal. Listen to Guevara on YouTube. I think it might have been Ian Allen. Listen to a video there where when he was speaking, he didn't mention her name in any leadership role in the freeing of that kidnapped man. He alluded to two, one senior superintendent and another superintendent, Perryman, and I can't remember the other one. I think. He didn't, and she was behind him. But when you juxtapose that with what the direction, the newspaper trying to project her as, that is the brakes for what coming down the road. So what I'm saying, if the police service show leadership and do what they have to do, then COP Guevara knows that he has the backing of the Police Service Commission, and he can start disciplining people from this ACP or senior superintendent down. So as soon as they get out of hand, discipline them. For example, them, it is alleged that they might have been sleeping based on the utterances of another program, Crime Watch. Remember, he all over the pelted big stone that these people doesn't respond.
Yeah.
But we as citizens have to find out what is the real position, because I think Guevara's clapping back and what he's saying, false information narrative is being thrown into the public. He's saying social media playing prim and proper and trying to, what should I say, throw the TTPS in a bad light.
All right.
So in order for that to the average citizen, we have to know to what extent and why they did not respond. And if they didn't respond, why they didn't relate to Sinclair. You remember it have a fella named KCR or had already tell them they're sleeping and locking up the station. Is that true? You understand?
I hear you. I hear you.
So there's a lot, if you put the pieces together, you will see the police service, our new minted COP needs help and he need assistance from the Police Service Commission.
All right.
Because if you understand, they have to, because he can't discipline people of a particular rank. I think it's ACP or senior to it. That is for the Police Service Commission.
Yeah, the Police Service Commission, yes. Yes, all of those, First Division of officers from Commissioner to Deputy,
right.
yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
And if you're not disciplining them and you're letting them to behave the way it is, then you basically slapping him because you remember what he said. He's not going to bury his head in the sand.
Yes.
And if and look at what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charges have been since he has come onto police officer who he has found to be errant. So that is my thing. We have to prove KCR wrong. He said the police service can't do it. This man and the Prime Minister said we want it done in 6 months.
Uh-huh.
So, as I say, we have to fix the police service internally.
Right.
Officers have to understand and respect the senior officers. And you can't have no respect for senior officers when they went they are policing to cause chaos. And it was an industrial action. And then fast forward, they take a 4% 2 years ago. And then they're coming to give you some BS that they had to take it. They didn't want it to go over into another negotiating to cut the losses and move forward.
Yeah, I remember the pretext, yes.
Right. And the other thing you have seen where this TTW second division has not been looking after the officers, the $1 million insurance. Why haven't they agitated for that since 10 years ago when Kamala, the People Partnership said she was doing it for them? They slapped their own fellow officers. When this now, we're in a state of emergency, and when you have gangs going after policemen, that is what the Commissioner of Police, these people should have been comforted with the insurance back in.
Yeah, I hear you.
You understand?
Yeah.
I mean, it is simple.
Yeah, it's well, from your perspective, it's simple, but I mean, there are so many nuances. Take, for instance, we have seen that when the disciplinary rod, let's say, was, of course, wielded under Earl Christopher, and certain officers were promoted as opposed to others, of course, based on meritocracy, as opposed to seniority. But because there was ultimately some glitch in the process, in the what they call the spreadsheet right. for the results, you find that they go to court and end up, of course, getting merit where merit was not due, because, of course, the process itself was flawed, and that would have been the responsibility of the management. So so it is much more complex than one would want to think in order to really arrest.
You see, that is a PNM thing, to mash up the thing and say it is difficult because it. So for example, remember all the ASP who they promoted, the judge said, "Let us scrap that and do it."
Yeah.
If that was the protocol, all them people who they promote and who are DCP and ECP, they go through the same protocol, not passing exam and elevated because they have a balance card.
Well, so you would have had to go. You would have had to have a mechanism, a formula for retrospectiveness, which of course they would have.
No, yeah, but in court it was fleshed out that they abandoned the true protocol and. The current president
but it was a but it turned out to be a standard practice, and those who benefited from it prior would call upon to give up or to give in. They could not have, because it would have created more chaos within an already chaos administration. Yeah. All right.
That is what we say.
Yes.
Something is not chaotic until you prove it, and we haven't proved it. All what we have done is elevated people that basically is faithful to Peter's principle. And you know what's Peter's principle? You reach a level of incompetence. And that is what the police service has done. And
Yes.
God.
Yeah, the promotion of incompetence, yes, mediocrity as opposed to
Right.
credibility and credit. Yes, indeed, of course. Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go on.
yeah,
Yes,
thank you
somebody
very much. Of course, we have completed that. Of course, I wasn't getting any call in the meantime, so don't accuse me of keeping him too long. But clearly, we would have had a healthy conversation. One of the other issues that I want to raise tonight, of course, is the oh boy, how things can be reversed in a very short space of time, depending on the circumstance. I'm talking here about, of course, Emil Elias and, of course, knocking Imbert and Rowley and saying that Imbert is the most incompetent finance minister ever in Trinidad and Tobago, that had the cause to disgrace the Ministry of Finance. And by extension, but less what I consider to be vile, less venomous, but nonetheless, he said it, would have been the Prime Minister who would have superintended, talking about, of course, Keith Christopher Rowley, who would have superintended and would have given this man, come Imbert, the position of Exchequer or the Minister of Finance in this country. I think it is very, very instructive that we look at that. Having regard to the fact that it was Rowley who told us that he, Elias, bankrolled his efforts to try to unseat earlier than the period or the time or the date that he eventually got his way to, of course, undermine Patrick Manning, the late Patrick Manning. Very, very interesting development. And one wonders whether or not that outburst is a genuine one, concerned, of course, with the economy, concerned with the state of our foreign exchange, or is it that he sees that the table has turned 360 degrees, and therefore are trying to make a play for sympathy, because I'm sure that the expenditure that would have been incurred by his company, NH International, particularly in respect of the headquarters for the Ministry of Health and the circumstances that caused it to materialize, to be constructed. I wonder, those of you who don't know the circumstances that caused the Ministry of Health headquarters to be constructed just obliquely opposite the Memorial Park and obliquely opposite in another direction, the opposite direction, the Queen's Park, Savannah East. That building there, that new building, yes. Well, the history of that construction is this, that the land itself, prime land, in a very, what I consider to be well-to-do part of the city, was given to a subsidiary or institution connected to Emil Elias, and the land having been reposed or vested in that company was used as collateral, yes, to get the money that was borrowed for the construction of that facility. So it is a case of unto himself, by and of unto himself. So he was given that, so he didn't put out the money at all. The government of the day, under Rowley, gave him the land on which the property, on which the building was constructed. He take the land now and go to the bank, get the money to construct the building, and then we, the taxpayers, end up having to pay for the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? End up having to pay for this. I say this because I want to make certain that we are clear as to whether or not the sudden outburst and the sudden criticism and the sudden venom of Elias is one of a genuine concern for the state of affairs as far as our foreign exchange is concerned, and whether or not a statement about the incompetence of Imbert at this stage, and probably one can ask, why wasn't he so vociferous, so overt in his now position when Imbert was Minister of Finance, Rowley was Prime Minister, and he got that opportunity to construct that Ministry of Health headquarters with such favorable conditions. That is important, because I don't want the present government, I being a part of it clearly, because of course I am part of the coalition of interests and therefore have a responsibility whilst in government to identify and to at the same time call out those who may and suddenly have a revulsion and a metamorphosis, a sudden change as they generate the previous administration's catharsis, the purge out the last administration, and suddenly comes and says, listen, you are doing the right thing, Kamala, when in fact they were a huge beneficiary of the mismanagement, the nepotism, cronyism, vindictiveness, and of course evil that became idiosyncratic and of course stereotypical of the Rowley Stuart Young administration before the 28th of April this year. Let us put things in perspective. I normally do not read, but I'll ask maybe Joshua to stay with me and just let him take a look at some of the comments that you would have made, because I'm sure people are commenting on it, but I don't like to read the comments. For me, it is it interferes with the flow, you know, and I don't want to have to go there. I know when we started off, at the end of the program, I would normally, of course, recognize those persons on the live. I no longer do that. I have discontinued that practice. And I think sufficient of that is expressed on the morning program when Andy would, of course, literally talk about and recognize almost everybody that is online. Of course, I love to say, of course, good morning to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, etc. And done that give a generic introduction, so to speak, or salutation to those who have taken the time to, of course, be with us as you have tonight. But I want to, of course, in that segment that we call the news, let me just introduce it with our new intro. Yes, indeed. I all right, we had a little glitch there with respect to that intro, but I think you got the gist. But let me just look at the headline: the value TT dollar to $9. So that is what Abel Elias is saying. Abel Elias knocks Imbert's foreign forex policies, warns of economic collapse. Yes, indeed. This was, of course, done just about a day or two ago. Executive Chairman, NH International, Emil Elias, Executive Chairman, right, yes, indeed, has appealed to Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar to raise the US dollar exchange rate from $6.80 to $9. The current exchange rate of $6.79 for $1 US, according to the central bank. Well, the current rate is that, right? In a statement to the Sunday Express yesterday, so that would have been yesterday, yes. Elias described the former finance minister, Corm Imbert, as the worst, let me repeat, as the worst in this country's history, adding his reckless decisions on foreign exchange and the economy were aided by former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. That statement speaks volumes, people. It says a lot. And once again, of course, if you are a skeptic as to whether or not there is some element or sincere element of sincerity about it, one cannot help but ask the question, why didn't he say that whilst the execution of that level of incompetence, impotence, and the mal-delivery of an administration of our finances, both men being at the helm of Trinidad and Tobago's affairs at this point in time. But I don't think we should harp on his sincerity, but look at the objectivity of the argument that is being placed in the public space at this time. And clearly, one can, without fear of contradiction, and come to the inescapable conclusion that Imbert and Rowley have crashed the economy and the society called Trinidad and Tobago between 2015 and, of course, the 28th of April 2025, all of 9 point something years. That's not waste time. But it's important that we understand the context and then look at, of course, the validity of the argument that is being advanced. So he continues, former finance minister Corm Imbert. So here it is, Emily Elias is saying, the history had now placed responsibility on Persad-Bissessar's shoulders, and suggests Elias suggesting she empower the central bank governor to manage monetary policy, interest rates, and the exchange rate, while the finance minister focuses on fiscal matters such as the national budget and expenditure levels. Well, of course, the governor of the central bank have made it very clear, lucidly clear, that they are not about the exchange rates, whether it should go up or down. That is for the politicians, and that is the domain of the Ministry of Finance. He has made it very clear. He has made it very pellucid. So we're not going to waste time. But of course, it is a suggestion. It is, of course, a position, and one expects that that will be reinforced in due course. But once again, knowing full well, keeping in mind that that is a man that benefited handsomely from when the PNM under Rowley and Imbert were in office. So whether or not you take what he is saying with a pinch of salt, or a truckload of salt, or indeed a whole sea of salt, is of course a position that I will leave up to you. I have my own views, however, because I think personally that the argument is a solid one, that Imbert would have been incompetent, and that Rowley and Imbert, that combination, is not just noxious, but is also septic and also poisonous for Trinidad and Tobago. So let us not waste time with that. So he continues, if you act decisively, he is of course asking of the current Prime Minister, your legacy will be that of the leader who restored sanity to the exchange rate, eliminated the black market, rebuild reserves, and restored Trinidad and Tobago's credibility, said Elias to the current PM, Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisasa. He continues, people, of course, the line is open and you can call. My apology for, first and foremost, my handset was zilt in terms of battery power, and the system, I did not ignite or I did not initiate the WhatsApp line. So, but it's only WhatsApp you can call. So my apology tonight, but I'm sure that you are getting information that you may not have been familiar with tonight, and therefore, of course, I think there is some degree of compensation for not having, of course, the communication mechanism up and running, so as to ensure that you can participate in tonight's discussion and or introduce your own topic tonight. But let's continue with that article. He added, of course, Elias is speaking, he added that the black market would disappear overnight. Exports would rise, investment inflows would increase, and demand would normalize once citizens and businesses could reliably access US dollars through the banking system at the current price. And there is argument. So he has argued to move the dollar exchange, Trinidad and Tobago's dollar for a United States dollar, from $6.76 thereabout to $9. And there is validity in it. It makes sense, because right now people don't like, or will not, in spite of all of the warnings and all of the overtures by the last government to of course try to tell people that it's illegal for them to hold foreign exchange and of course deal with it on the black market level, meaning that outside there is about $10 for $10 TT for $1 right now. Let all of us know that, and therefore, if I have a US dollar, I will not go to a bank to get 7 something or 6 something when I can get $10 straight out here. So he's making the point that if it is that those companies that export and therefore earn foreign exchange, they will prefer if the exchange is much more equitable, meaning that much more realistic to the real rate that it ought to compared to Trinidad dollars, then people will be encouraged to bring their monies back to Trinidad and not leave it outside of Trinidad. I'm talking about US dollars, those companies that export. So that is what the argument, that's one of the arguments and one of the benefits. And of course, in that scenario, we have to look at the negative side as well. He didn't say that, but certainly, and I think later down in the article, he did cursorily mention it, but not in depth. But we have to know that if it is that you're paying $9 for a US, bet your bottom dollar, when people import things, that the price is going to be through the roof. And therefore, it will be much more difficult. The cost of living will be much higher. And if employment is not generated in an equitable way, or should I say equally to the rise in the cost of living, you will understand that the tremendous challenge and difficulty that Trinidad and Tobago can find, is particularly among those who are most vulnerable. The poor, the unemployed, the underemployed, the children, the senior citizens, I think it will be a tough call to make by the present government to listen to Elias on that concern that you would have had. Of course, my concern with respect to that, and my attention is being paid to the fact that he is castigating Imsbert and Rowley in the process. I think that is a significant development. And of course is firmly in the corner of the present Prime Minister, something that I don't think you could have seen before the 28th of April, and thus of course questioning his sincerity. Is it that he's trying to set up the government to fail? Is it that he set up the government to make decisions that will create ripples in the society, revulsions, and so of course cause the PNM to capitalize as they have with simple things such as the CPEP and URP. Just imagine, you get that as another leverage to, of course, put in the mix of what I consider to be nonsensical and self-serving arguments. So we have to be very careful here. Of course, there is a budget to come before at least the first week of next month. So I'm giving the rest of this month as possible, and then of course before the first week in next month, simply because there is a legal requirement to have the entire process be completed before the end of October, so that the execution or the rolling out of projects and the delivery of monies to various ministries can be made possible by this legal constraint that the Minister of Finance has, and of course the Prime Minister, I'm sure, will be eager to not just adhere but to make certain that it is done within the confines of the law, all and sundry. I'm going to read just one more paragraph because we are already where we are in terms of, I'm going to take off my glasses. You know, I like to take off my glasses. Oh, it is what? 9:55 already? Wait. All right, let me just read this last paragraph and that's it. This nation cannot forget that it was Imbert who, as Minister of Finance, this is Elias talking here, was the architect of this crisis until he was sacked by Stuart Young. But he was enabled by many others who are the co-owners of this destruction. Wow. Clearly, Rowley is a major player here too. Together, they squandered a decade and sabotage our economic future for selfish political gains. Elias said, wow, this is significant. I will, of course, make reference to this particular paragraph tomorrow on the ground report. Having said that, of course, let me say once again, thank you for being with us. My apology for the lack of communication by way of phone, but it was due to circumstances that I have to take full responsibility for, and to, of course, ask you to listen tomorrow morning on the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, as we continue with these and other matters of a national nature. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and see you, of course, I wouldn't say paradise, but see you tomorrow morning on the ground report. Bye-bye.
Education. You got to be a millionaire or some kind of petty bourgeoisie anytime you're living here. In this country, you got to be in skullduggery, making you money illicitly to live like somebody. In this country, it's outrageous and insane. Them crazy prices in Port of Spain, and like the merchants going out their brain, and the working man like the only toiling in vain. Where you ever hear a television